Namaste guys, ChristianRLong, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Tuesday evening here in Denver, Colorado. I think it's about 5 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. It just twitched over to 5 o'clock. And I want to jump on real quick and share a stream with you guys that I think you'll get a tremendous amount of value out of. And the goal is every time we do these streams, you want to add value to your life in one way, shape, or form. And the three main topics that we talk about on these live streams are energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality, which I have approximately 20 years of experience in with myself, with clients, and fellow students and co-disciples on the path. And there was a book that was recommended during the New Year's Day meditation and healing, Adrian, Namaste, that Master Stephen Coe brought up. And I thought to myself, that's a book I read 4 years ago that deeply impacted me and transformed my life, which led me to read a couple other books connected to the same topic. And the topic is mastery. And I think to myself, 2020, I've been on the spiritual path. It'll be 21 years this year. I started in 1999 when my body turned 19 years old. I learned transcendental meditation. Meditate 20 minutes in the morning, meditate 20 minutes in the evening. And I was making progress pretty rapidly on that path. And then about 4.5 years later, I was introduced to pranic healing, which is pranic healing is a healing modality, and then Arhatic yoga is the meditation modality that was developed by Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, who you see on the wall behind me. And I basically was all in with my TM practice, and then when I shifted from TM to pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, I've been all in with that for the past 15 years. And I realized that there is a big yearning and urge and need to be exposed to mastership. Now, it's interesting because in the day of technology, you can become masterful of something in a very short period of time because there's so many different things to be aware of. It's like, you know what, I'm just going to take this tiny sliver of information and I'm going to become masterful of that, and people will pay me for my expertise. So you could be a master of, say, Instagram within maybe a month, right? You can learn all the ins and the outs, the ups, the downs, the sides, the back bends, whatever, of how to build a following on Instagram, and you can become an expert like that overnight. And I thought about Fernando, Namaste, I thought about, is that the case in all fields? You can become a master of technology because technology is very niche and it's constantly changing. So the mastership of getting good at technology is adaptability, right? But I think of somebody like a surgeon, a heart surgeon, brain surgeon. It's like the mastery of that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a period of many, 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 many years, lots of training, lots of practicum in order to become masterful at it. And so within the world of pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, we have different titles, different distinctions, different levels of proficiency. And when it comes to the healing art of pranic healing, the healing aspect, the certification process, we have like associate certified pranic healer, we have certified pranic healer, we have senior certified pranic healer, we have associate master pranic healer, we have master pranic healer, we have grand master pranic healer. And all of those are different ways that we distinguish between somebody's proficiency in the healing arts of being able to produce a certain result in a certain period of time. Meaning, for instance, you could be an associate certified pranic healer and have somebody who has a severe headache, right? And the protocol says, okay, do this protocol 2 times a week for the next 2 weeks, and then the person's headache should go away, right? So if you're an proficient healer, you should be able to follow the protocol and make that person's headache go away or almost completely go away within that time period. Now, the more proficient and more efficient the person becomes at healing, they're able to produce that result or better in a shorter period of time. So instead of it taking 4 healings over 2 weeks, you should be able to produce it in, say, 3 healings over a week and a half, or 2 healings over a week, or 1 healing, right? Or instead of it being an hour-long session, 5-minute session. So mastership within the world of energy healing, within the world that we practice in, is extremely valuable, because a master pranic healer, and especially a grandmaster pranic healer, can produce a miraculous result within maybe seconds that would be near impossible, if not entirely impossible, for even advanced practitioners. So I remember a video that Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui did many, many years ago talking about we never charge for healing. The healing is always free. What we're charging for is our time, right? So you have to ask yourself the question, what is my time worth, right? I don't have unlimited, infinite time on this planet, so what is my time worth? And so he was kind of joking and kind of not joking. He was thinking, what's the teacher's time worth? What's 30 seconds of the teacher's time worth, right? Think about someone at that level of healing ability, at that level of spiritual and material development. What could they do in 30 seconds? How could they impact you in 30 seconds, right? So it was kind of like, would be the difference of saying, meeting a new therapist and working with that new therapist 3 times a week for the next 3 years to produce a certain result, versus spending 30 seconds to a minute with a grandmaster of healing who resolves your childhood trauma, resolves your phobia, resolves your addiction within seconds. How valuable is that? Actually, this past year in 2019, during the 21-day spiritual vacation, we had an opportunity to witness one of the master pranic healers doing a healing on the subconscious mind of several participants. And something that would take me, as a 15-year practitioner of healing, would take me maybe a couple weeks to go into and do healing on in somebody's subconscious mind. This master pranic healer was able to do it within seconds. I'm talking like 5 seconds. What's that worth, right? And again, that's mastership. So in this book that Master Stephen Co was recommending to us to read for the New Year's meditation, it's called The One Thing, written by Gary Keller. And I purchased this book about 4 years ago, and I read it. And basically, in a nutshell, the takeaway is, if you take one thing and you practice that one thing 5 days a week for 4 hours a day for 10 years, you will become an expert of experts. You will become a master in that specific thing. So in the case of what I do as a profession, would be healing. So 4 hours a day dedicated to healing, whether it's free healings, whether it's paid healings, but practicing and mastering my trade. And within the world of healing, there's different skills to develop. So you have the skill of scanning or feeling energy. You have the skill of clairvoyance, which is seeing energy. You have the skill of memorizing the specific protocols within the different books that Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui wrote. So that in and of itself is a skill. So instead of someone coming to you and saying, I have a migraine headache, and you're like, hold on a second, let me go find the book, let me go find the protocol, because you've studied and mastered the protocols, you can just go, okay, this chakra, this chakra, this chakra, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, protocol done, how are you? I feel great, I feel healed, I feel, transformed, perfect, right? So within the world of healing, there's many different skills that one can develop along the way, and that takes time. And that's a thing that, how many of us are willing to say, you know what, I want to spend 4 hours a day on one thing, right? 5 days a week for the next 10 years. Not too many people want to do that. And that's why we do not have that many masters within any field or any area of knowledge. I remember one of my mentors in pranic healing said many, many years ago that finding a true guru or finding a true master is harder than finding a needle in a haystack. He said harder, specifically. I thought to myself that I must be pretty lucky to have met Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui in the physical form, the physical body. to be able to be taught by him, to be blessed by him, to be healed by him, right? To be critiqued by him. I remember one time Grandmaster Cho Koksui, he was teaching a class, and I believe it was our Hatha Yoga, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I can remember where I was sitting in the room. I kind of have an idea of the topic matter. I think it was our Hatha Yoga. And he was asking a question. He said, who among you knows about Kundalini energy? Now, at that time in my life, I was reading a lot of books about Kundalini energy. So what did that mean? I was automatically an expert. I automatically knew more than everybody in the room about Kundalini energy. Well, I raised my hand to demonstrate my tremendous intellect about the subject of Kundalini energy. And Master Cho said, yes, Christian? And I said, well, Master, Kundalini energy is this, this, and 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 this. Janae, I'm going to say all of these things, right? And he was always polite, always loving, always giving, the students the floor, the opportunity. And he says, and he's looking around the room at the other students. He goes, Christian, very good. I think you've confused some of your students, but thank you for sharing. Please have a seat. That was it. Here I am thinking, I've been doing meditation practice up to that point for about 4.5 years. I read maybe 3 or 4 books about Kundalini energy, a little bit about the chakras, and I'm automatically considering myself an expert, right? And I'm presenting this in front of a living master on spirituality, meditation, Kundalini energy, chakras, the soul, right? But master always being humble, right? He's like, very good. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. So it's so that would be a really good book I would recommend plugging into and taking some nuggets out of. And you know what? Healing might not be your thing. Healing might not be something you want to master over the next 10 years of your life. It's what I've chosen to do. And believe me, it has not been easy, but it has opened up worlds among worlds, universes among universes that I could not have mentally comprehended even 5 years ago. So I'm extremely grateful for my tenacity to take something and to become good at it and to not jump around. It could be writing for you. It could be swimming. It's some kind of sport. It could be parenting. It could be something that you can just dedicate yourself to. And I realized that in our culture, the Western world, the plugged-in technology world, we have a tendency not to value mastery. We have a tendency to jump from one thing to the next. So, for instance, my world of energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality, I noticed that there are apps, right? Meditation apps that you can download. Headspace being one of the more popular ones. And they have, I think, hundreds of meditations on that particular app. But here's the thing. If you don't know why you're meditating, if you don't know if you don't know what is happening in the process of your meditation, you don't know how to correct things when they're going one way or the other, you don't have somebody leading you, so you're just jumping from meditation to meditation to meditation to meditation to meditation, right? So there's no level of mastery. Everything has become this big, broad, how to say this? We're going for breadth versus going for depth, because mastery is depth. But the interesting thing about mastery is, as you take one subject and you go very, 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 very deep with that subject, you start to realize something, that the roots that you're connecting to are connected to other things as well, right? So meaning, if you know yourself very, very well, know thyself, you're able to know other people very, very well without studying that person. Why? Because you study yourself and you understand how your mind works, you understand how your emotions work, you understand how your physical body and physiology works, and you can understand other people right? But if you're always going outside and trying to get breadth of experience, it prevents you from having depth of understanding. That's been my experience, because I made a decision a long time ago that when I practiced TM, Transcendental Meditation, and I became part of the TM movement, I wanted to become masterful of that school, right? I would look at the results, I would look at the fruit of the senior practitioners who had been doing it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and I said, they know things, they experience things that I don't have knowledge and experience of, and I want that, right? So I said, okay, well, what do I have to do? I have to practice. So I was very diligent with my TM practice, morning and evenings, and then I went from practicing 20 minutes twice a day to practicing 2 to 6 hours a day of meditation, just meditation, not anything else. And I started having a lot of beautiful experiences, a lot of deep experiences. I went a lot of places. But then there came a point in my practice that I would ask questions, those questions wouldn't be answered. Either the person I was asking didn't know the answer, or the person I was asking didn't feel I was entitled to the answer. So I would read the books that the TM movement and organization had available to understand my experiences better. And that helped, right? But then I went to the next level and things weren't being answered. But you know what happened? I met somebody within the TM movement, the TM organization, who was a pranic healer and Arhatic yogi. And then she introduced me to this system of chakras, Kundalini energy, the higher soul, Grandmaster Choa. And I thought, this is an interesting world. I want to develop it a little bit more and understand it a little bit more. And then guess what? That led me, the rabbit hole that I was starting to go down with pranic healing or Arhatic yoga, I realized it was answering my questions. Where TM was failing to answer my questions, which I am super grateful for the TM organization and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, because it brought me into the spiritual path. Super, super grateful. But as I started to practice pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, it answered my questions that I was never getting answered within the TM movement, right? So that made me shift. And then I've been practicing pranic healing and Arhatic yoga for the past 15 years, almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years in March. And a good friend of mine, who'd been a long time pranic healer and Arhatic yogi, he says, look, if I find a system, a spiritual system, a healing system better than pranic healing, I'll go with that system. Up to this point, I haven't found it. So I chose 15 years ago that, you know what, I'm going to stick with this path and I'm going to become masterful of this path, because it was answering the questions that I had. My intelligence was respected. I was asked to experiment with the information that had been given. As I experimented with the information that I had been given, I started to validate the teachings, validate the truth, and I said, you know what, this stuff works. They're saying do this and you'll get this result. I did that and I got that result. Okay, so I'm just going to keep following this path. And if it starts to lead me astray, Bibi-ama namaste, if it starts to lead me astray, I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to find out what is happening. Right? So, as I started practicing, I said, aha, I look at the results of the senior practitioners. I look at the results and the fruit of the masters within pranic healing. That's what I'm shooting for. They had material success. They had spiritual success. They had loving relationships with friends, family members, their partners. I said, aha, that's what I want, right? So I started following, and then over time started gradually becoming more masterful of the healing protocols, of the meditation practices within Arhatic yoga. And here we are 15, almost 16 years later. And this is the path that I've chosen to become masterful in. There are many, many different healing modalities, alternative and traditional. There are many, many, many different spiritual practices. There are many paths to God. It could be bhakti yoga for you. It could be prayer for another person. It could be being out in nature for a third person. I've chosen in this incarnation to practice pranic healing and our Hatha Yoga. I don't recommend it to everybody because it's not for everybody. I used to think it was. I was like, this is the most amazing meditation system I've ever seen in my entire life. Everybody has to practice this. Until one day I heard one of the masters in pranic healing say, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui never intended our Hatha Yoga for the masses. And I was like, wait a minute. It's not for the masses? I thought it was for the masses. I thought everyone was supposed to practice our Hatha Yoga. What am I missing? Pranic healing is for the masses. The healing aspect is for the masses. Our Hatha Yoga, the meditation arm, the spiritual arm, is not for the masses. It's for a small group of people. Does that make sense? So, I would highly encourage each and every one of you to pick up the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, talking about how to focus on one thing to become masterful of that one thing. And there's actually a book written by Robert Greene called Mastery. Excellent book, very thick book, very detailed research book that talks about modern day masters and masters of old and why they were masters. Ivan Namaste, what made them masters? Fascinating. Political masters, business masters, creative masters, like painters and architects. So I would highly recommend picking up those two books, The One Thing by Gary Keller and then Mastery by Robert Greene. And I'll leave you guys with this. I was reading this last night. So there was a book written called Power by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk. And I got this book maybe 6 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago. It's one of my first Kindle books. So I still have the book in my Amazon account. And I was rereading it and I was like, literally, because I'm a different person than I was 7 years ago, reading it again, it's like reading a completely different book, like entirely different book. So I guess I got more value, right? It's a new book. So as I'm reading it, he talks about practicing, right? And any master has to practice their craft. And he says, we have the assumption that if we have all the tools to something, that's going to give us the experience. Meaning, if we're looking for happiness, then we need to have a lot of money in our bank accounts. We need to have a beautiful home. We need to have a nice fancy car. We need to have a high-paying, high-profile career, right? We have to have all the components, and then we'll have happiness. And he used a beautiful analogy. He says it would be similar to going to the store and buying all the things that you need for tennis. The tennis racket, the tennis balls, the tennis net, the tennis shoes. But you're not going to have the experience of what it's like playing tennis until you practice playing tennis, right? So many of us think that just by having the components that we are going to experience that. So what he means is you have to practice happiness. You can have all the components that should make you happy, but unless you're actually in the field, in the trenches, in the arena, practicing happiness, you will never be happy, right? And I thought that was such a beautiful way of looking at it, because how many of us have become masterful of searching Google, masterful of searching on Facebook, masterful of posting things on Instagram, masterful, of fill in the blank, right? Masterful of our careers, of making money in our careers, right? Most of us, on some level, I wouldn't say masterful. I think we have a mediocre understanding at best of those things. Facebook, Instagram, social media, whatever, right? We don't even have mastery in those things. We just use them at a basic understanding. But how many of us practice mastery of the inner world? How many of us practice mastery over our thoughts, practice mastery of our feelings, practice mastery of our bodies, right? Not many of us. And that is a lifetime practice. And the interesting thing that Robert Greene talks about in his book on mastery, he says masters have a deeper and greater fulfillment with their overall lives because they chose something to become masterful at. Have you ever noticed that? Think about the area in your life that is going really well that you're really good at. And if you can just spend 30 minutes to an hour doing that thing that you really enjoy, that you're masterful at, don't you realize that that beautiful energy bleeds into every other part of your day and every other part of your life, right? But if you're mediocre, if you're average in every area of your life, where's the richness? Where's the depth of experience, of contentment, of happiness, of joy, of compassion? So again, we can jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, have a bunch of surface level superficial experiences, or we can take one thing, like the book says, and go super, super, super deep. Again, that's why I've chosen pranic healing as my healing art and as my spiritual path. Because there's not enough time in the day, there's not enough Christians out there to become masterful of 20 different things. It's impossible. So you have to choose something to become masterful at. Some people choose to be masterful parents. Some people choose to be masterful in business. Some people choose to be masterful at performing an instrument or singing, right? I've chosen to become masterful at healing. And it's like, the interesting thing about healing is the more you study and practice healing with yourself and with other people, the more questions you have and the more things that open up and the more like mind-blowing experiences one has. Not an easy path. Man, not an easy path. But I guess that's kind of how it works, right? It's like on the Zach Gottman Namaste, on the path of becoming masterful of something, you're going to hit this roadblock and then break through that roadblock, hit another plateau, break through the next roadblock, go up a notch, hit another plateau, hit another black toe. That's super weird. Think about that, black toe, like hitting it. It's kind of weird. Weird visual. So that would be my encouragement to each and every one of you, to spend time with one thing for a prolonged period of time. Know it deeply, understand it deeply, look at it from different levels of truth, look at it from different facets of truth, and you will have a more fulfilling and more rewarding life. That's what the data shows anyways. That's what my personal experience has been of being a professional energy healer for 15 years and being a spiritual practitioner for 20 years. And not in a casual, laissez-faire kind of way. I've really dedicated my life to this work and to becoming good at it. And I still have a far way to go and a lot to learn and a lot to experience, but welcome to mastery, right? So that being said, if I can help you guys improve your lives so you can have a higher level of mastery, then go to ChristianRLong.com, sign up for a healing session, one-on-one, FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom. Kate, Abba Namaste, good to have you back on. Sign up for a distant healing session. We can transform your life in whatever level of mastery you're looking to acquire. And I look forward to serving you. Do you guys who are sharing your time and energy right now, have any questions? Today's topic was about mastery. Today's topic was about mastery. I've dedicated 15 plus years of becoming masterful of healing and spirituality and meditation practices. And that's about all I have time for to become masterful in. The two books we recommended is The One Thing by Gary Keller. The One Thing by Gary Keller. And then Mastery by Robert Greene with an E. Mastery by Robert Greene. That should pretty much cover it. Kate, you're late to the party, but it's always good to have you on. Hopefully you can watch the replay and get some value out of it. For those of you who did get value out of tonight, please share it on your Facebook page, personal or professional, does not matter. We try to keep it PG-13 for most any audience so everyone can get value out of it. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Lots of light, love, and power from God and my teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, in your lives. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma Namaste. Bye-bye.